Hey everyone, David Ryshpan here again with you on YouTube. Welcome back to the channel. Today, it's all about synth bass. I've been doing a number of synth bass or left-hand bass gigs over the past month or so, and I have settled on one single plugin to get me through all of those gigs. We're going to look at why I've chosen that plugin, and this is actually going to be the first in a series of videos about synth bass, left-hand bass. And if that's something that interests you, if you enjoy videos like this, please click all the buttons below, like, subscribe, and click the bell icon to know when the other videos in this series get uploaded and go live. Alright, let's dive in. The plugin I have chosen is the Arturia Mini V4. And specifically the sound I am using is based on, no pun intended, the Chameleon bass preset in Mini V4, but I have modified it fairly extensively, and you heard it in the band mix at the top of the video with the Polish guitarist Wojtek Justyna, but I'm going to play a little bit of the sound just solo on its own outside of the mix. So a little bit about the three gigs I've been playing synth bass on. The first one was with the Senegalese artist Sahad, and I played keyboards with him on his Montreal show, and then with very little notice for various reasons, I wound up having to cover the bass parts on synth bass. Usually it's an electric bass gig. I think this is the first time he's ever played with a synth bass player. The second gig was a run of shows with the Polish guitarist Wojtek Justyna, and he pitched it to me as kind of an organ trio vibe or an updated organ trio vibe, kind of in the vein of Soul Live. But a lot of the recordings he sent me are with an electric bassist who uses a lot of pedals. And then the third gig I actually have coming up at the end of September is with the multi-instrumentalist Andre Galamba. I play on his recently released solo record, and we're putting together a live show of all of Andre's music. The thing is, Andre plays both bass and guitar on the record, and so live there's going to be times where he plays electric bass and I play keyboards, and then when he switches to either nylon string or electric guitar, I pick up the bass parts on synth bass. So in all three of those situations, I needed a sound that not entirely replicated electric bass, but definitely had the transient and the saturation of an electric bass, and then combine that with the more consistent sub-frequency that you get from synthesizer bass. And I tried all the different Mini Moog style plugins that I have, and the one with the quickest transient and the quickest envelope that I found was the Arturia Mini V4. I'm very, very happy with Arturia Mini V4. I put it up against Mini V3, I put it up against U-Heat Diva, I put it up against Native Instruments Monarch, all of which I love in different situations, but nothing gave me that fast, snappy transient that I was looking for to replicate an electric bass attack and pocket in the context of the rhythm sections and styles of music that I was playing. I'm basically going to load the program from scratch and show you what I've done, how I've set it up on Mini V4 with my Arturia Keylab controller and Mainstage. So you see, here's my Mainstage patch. Since in this case I was using it on multiple songs, I just had it labeled as Mini V4 bass, and because I tweaked the preset so much, I didn't bother labeling it as to what preset I was using. But let's start from scratch. We're going to load a new patch with Channel Strip, Software Instrument, and now we are going to go to Mini V4, and we are going to load up the Chameleon Bass preset. And this actually sounds something like this out of the box, which is okay, but there's things about it I need to change. The first thing I hear is the reverb, which I don't want. And the next thing I changed was the type of distortion from hard clip to soft clip. So in just doing those two things, it sounds like this. Which is already a little bit closer. The next move I made is I brought down the emphasis, which in Mini Moog speak is resonance. So if I dial that back to about 4, I still want a little bit of resonance because the peak gives it that kind of transient or that front end attack that the plucking of a string or the picking of a string has. If I turn off all the emphasis, to me it loses just a little bit of the front of the note. So I'm going to bring that to about 3.5 or 4. And now the real key to this sound is controlling the amount of contour. So my instinct might be to just lower the filter cutoff, but it's already quite low at 46. And so it's really in the amount of how much the filter envelope here is modulating the cutoff frequency. So if I bring this back to 4, before it was up at about 6, here it is down at 4. And you'll see just in that threshold between 4 and 6, just in that range between 4 and 6, I can get it to sound much more like a muted P bass or something. So really, the character of the sound for me lives in this range of the filter contour between 4 and 6. So what I did was I mapped one of the encoders on my controller to the filter contour amount. And I limited the range. You see the range minimum and maximum. I limited the range from about 3.5 to 7. So now on the fly, depending on the tune and even the section of the tune, I can have a very muted, almost dead, muted P-bass sound. Or I can have a much brighter open kind of tone. And you'll hear you hear that the transient of the envelope is very, very quick. I couldn't find any other plugin that I currently own that had an attack that quick and sharp. I then also mapped controls to cutoff, emphasis, and the decay of the filter envelope. All of those parameters just gave me even more live control, because if you listen to, this is sweeping the contour, the amount of contour in the filter. Which is not exactly the same as a cutoff sweep. And then if I adjust both, and then just with a few tweaks of my encoders, I can get back to a kind of Herbie style chameleon bass sound, but it's not what I want the majority of the time on any of these gigs. That is the particularity of what I was looking for in this sound, is that I'm really filling the role of an electric bassist, and particularly in the upcoming gig with Galamba, he's playing electric bass and then I take over with synth bass. So we want the continuity of the sound to be rather similar. In the case of Andre Galamba's gig, we also decided to add the Plugin Alliance HG2 on the back end of it for even more virtual saturation. Bypass. So that has been my go-to synth bass sound for all my various gigs. Like I said, this is the first in a series talking about left-hand bass. I hope this helps you. I hope this was informative. If you enjoyed this and if you're looking forward to the next videos in the series, once again, please click like, subscribe, and the bell icon to be notified when the next videos go live. Thank you so much for watching. My name's David Ryshpan. I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.